Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of In the Paint, brought to you by Dr. Karen Kramer, your hometown dentist in Grafton and Elyria. Tim Alcorn and Matt Douglass from AM 930 WEOL. Great to have you joining us from the Chronicle Telegram studios. Matt, as always, great to get together with you and talk a little high school basketball, both on the boys and the girls side. For the girls, the regular season has come to an end. For the boys, they've got one more weekend to get through, and then their tournament play begins next week. So always an exciting time.
Absolutely is. You mentioned the girls have already started tournament play in some aspects. A lot of games getting underway Saturday. Other teams waiting till later in the week to get some of those games on. So exciting times, as you mentioned, Tim. Some teams are already moving on. Some teams are calling it a season here.
A couple of mild upsets on the girls' side as far as tournament play. Lower-seeded teams on the road get wins. Firelands at Rocky River last Saturday afternoon. We had that game on WEOL. And then Monday night in a terrific game over at Midview, Ashley Heisel for Lorain High had a terrific performance in leading the Lady Titans, the number 9 seed, past the number 8 seed, Midview Lady Middy. So, again, a couple of close games, but nice road wins for two Lorain County girls teams.
Sam, I think last week you talked about eating crow, but I think you and I kind of pointed to the fact that Lorain team don't sleep on them. They're a pretty solid team. They get a tough draw now. They'll have to play Olmsted Falls, but a good win against Midview to start off tournament play for sure.
Well, we thought it would be fun on this edition of In the Paint to kind of look at some individual standouts as the regular season has ended for the girls and it's about to end for the boys. Let's look at some of the individuals on both sides that have really had outstanding high school basketball seasons. So, Matt, we're going to kind of look at the scoring totals and who our scoring champs were.
Yeah, well, it's always fun to take a look at the scoring. That's where the big points obviously come in, what people focus on. On the girls' side, Tim, I had the opportunity to call an Oberlin game this year. Leading scorer in Lorain County, Carissa Rankin, averaging 19.2 points a game. They asked a lot of her. She was one of the bigs, fought in the paint every single game, came up with big rebounds, knocked down big baskets for that Oberlin Phoenix team. So really impressive to see her there at the top. In second place in the county there in the scoring title, Brooke Redmond, averaging 19 points a game this season. Brooke was the original Janasco Insurance Player of the Week back in week number 1. Fought through an injury, came back. I mean, that says a lot to what she accomplished this season to finish in second in the scoring race as well. And then Jalen Gibbs, a fun story there, Wellington. She was playing tremendous beginning of the season alongside Alexis Lemcool. For reasons, injury, I believe it was, Lemcool left the court. She was unable to continue through the rest of the season, and Jalen Gibbs picked up and just continued scoring it and took on a heavy load there for the Wellington Lady Dukes, and a tremendous season as she averaged 16.6 points a game. And then Cam Ziak, 16 points a game. She's a Georgia State commit, lived up to expectations. I think this year everyone in the SWC knew when they were playing Amherst, hey, you got to keep tabs on her.
And boy, can she shoot the long ball. Cam Ziak, just outstanding from beyond the arc. All right, over on the boys' side of the ledger, really no stunner here. Devon Grant leading all scorers on the boys' side by 8 points a game. Think about that. Day-Day was just spectacular all year long, averaging 27 per game. In second place at 19.2 per game, Mason Montgomery from Vermilion. And of course, Mason, an outstanding athlete. He's actually going to college on a baseball scholarship, but he had a tremendous year on the hardwood as well. Day-Day's teammate over at Lorain High, Tay-Tay. So there's Day-Day and Tay-Tay. Tavon Pierre-Lewis, he comes in third in the county at 17.4 points per ball game. And then we keep talking about this open door team, and we're going to talk about them a little bit later on in the video. But Jared Bublenik for the Open Door Patriots had a very nice season at 17.1 per game. So 4 outstanding players right there and 4 outstanding seasons. And we're going to touch on one more thing as far as individual standouts are concerned. On the girls' side, there were 3 girls that averaged double digits in scoring and rebounds.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, that's not an easy task to accomplish, averaging throughout the regular season. And one maybe a little less known than some of the others, but from Christian community schools, Haley Verona averaging a double-double this year. Allie Winnan from Elyria Catholic averaged a double-double this season, as did Amaya Stanton from Amherst. So hat off to them, because that's not an easy task to make sure you're standing in double digits in 2 different statistical categories.
Especially at the high school basketball level. That's a real challenge. And on the boys' side, 2 young men averaged double-doubles in points and rebounds. Johnny Manning from Midview, 15 points per game, 10 rebounds per ball game. And Jonathan Erb over at Black River, he's a big fella, but Jonathan Erb, 16 points and 11 rebounds per ball game. Had a terrific year for the Pirates.
Yeah, so congratulations to those 2 gentlemen. Of course, Johnny Manning from Midview and Erb from Black River. He's another name a lot of coaches said when we talked to him throughout the weeks about, hey, we're going to have to find somebody to match up. His height created a lot of mismatches for the Pirates this season.
All right, Matt, let's talk about our Janasco Insurance Players of the Week. And again, Players of the Week brought to you by Janasco Insurance on Broadway in Lorraine. I'll start this week.
Right.
I know we normally start with the
Sounds
girls,
good.
but I'll start things off with the Janasco Insurance Player of the Week. This young man has just had a great season, but boy, the last couple of games for Clearview, Jameer Billings has been lights out. Now, Clearview had a tough loss on Friday night in that conference championship game against Fairview, but you can't fault the effort of the Clippers nor Jameer Billings. In that ball game, he had 16 points and a bevy of steals for the Clippers. He also had 10 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah, Clearview lost the game 69-61, but the young sophomore was just outstanding. Clearview then comes back on Tuesday night on the road at Vermilion. They only had 7 guys dressed, and Jameer Billings, the sophomore, led Clearview to a big upset win at Vermilion with 19 points in the ballgame. So hats off to Jameer Billings. You talk about a bright future, only a sophomore. He is a great offensive player. He is a standout defensively. It just seems as though every time the other team has the ball, Jameer comes up with a steal. He averages about 5 or 6 per ball game. He's terrific. He had 2 great games. Tough loss Friday, but a big win Tuesday. I'm going to go with Jameer Billings for the Janasco Insurance Player of the Week.
Certainly. Billings seems like one of those guys who exudes Clearview Clipper basketball, blue-collar, hustle all the way. Fun to see. Tim, it's become a bit of a theme for me on the girls' side here with the Janasco Insurance Players of the Week. Last week we had 2 because they were 1,000-point career scores. We've got another one this week. Elyria Catholic's Faith Williams in their final game of the regular season against Bay, which we mentioned was a postponed game that was being made up. They played on Saturday. Faith Williams knocked down 17 points, leading Elyria Catholic to the win, their 4th consecutive Great Lakes Conference title. And as I mentioned, it put her above the 1,000 career point mark. Pretty impressive, especially for a point guard. She dishes the ball out just about as well as she can shoot that thing. And for my money, I think she's one of the better ball handlers in girls basketball, especially in Lorain County, maybe even the whole Northeast Ohio area. So Faith Williams is my Janasco Insurance Player of the Week.
She's an outstanding player, an all-around player for Elyria Catholic, and the true leader of that team as they try to get back to the Final Four in Columbus. Great selection there.
Thank you. That'll start on Saturday, as a matter of fact. They'll play their first tournament game.
Yep. All right, to wrap things up here on our In the Paint, brought to you by Dr. Karen Kramer. Matt and I always like to talk about the fact that, boy, if you're on a roll, if you're playing very well going into the tournaments, you've got a little head of steam for postseason play. Well, kind of the who's hot, who's not. Lorain County, at least on the boys' side, there really isn't anybody on that big-time roll. Lorain has won 11 in a row. But aside from that, the picture is pretty muddled as far as boys high school basketball is concerned.
Yeah, no one like last year. I think Keystone last season was riding like a 14-game winning streak going into the postseason. This year, it's been pretty even play throughout the area. Teams get up, they get down. It's kind of what you'd expect. But as you kind of point out, aside from Lorain over there in that Division I tournament, Olmsted Falls you can throw in. Of course, not necessarily in Lorain County. They've been playing hot as well. Unfortunately, for the two sides, they'll run into each other in that district tournament. But we haven't really seen much. Now, Open Doors, one of those teams, went on that 16-game winning streak, fell the other night in that Lake Effect Conference Championship game to Andrews Osborne, responded with a great game against Danbury on Saturday, and then on Tuesday night took on GCC Power Euclid, lost by 2 points, Tim. I mean, that's a school that's got way more depth than Open Door should be able to hang on to.
Boy, we talked about Bublenik earlier in the show. They've got a great player in Trey Brooks, an outstanding coach in Todd Wright. I keep saying it week after week in this video. Look out for Open Door in Division 4. They could get out of that district. They're really good.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. They may not have, I mean, they had the 16-game winning streak, but they may not be riding it into the postseason, but they're solid.
to go to Euclid and lose by 2 at Euclid. And one other thing about Tuesday night before we wrap it up, congratulations Elyria Catholic, their boys basketball team with a thrilling 69-61 overtime win over Parma on Tuesday night. EC was down by 18 points twice in the ball game. Huge rally. Eddie Wright hit a 3-ball with 10 seconds to go to send the game to overtime. Great win for EC. Congratulations on their conference championship.
Yeah, a good way to start your career at EC if you're Rob Palmer, the head coach there in his first season.
There we go. All right, so that's going to do it for this week's edition of In the Paint, brought to you by Dr. Karen Kramer, your hometown dentist in Grafton and Elyria. Now, I won't be here next week, but I'll be watching from Arizona, Matt.
We'll hold down the fort, Tim. No worries. It'll be me and Andy Bobarch, I believe, bringing you the news.
All right. So, Matt, thanks to you. Have a good week next week. Thanks to Bruce Bishop behind the camera. Biggest thanks to you, the viewers. Hope you enjoyed it. And until we talk again, so long, everybody.